Good morning. Good morning. Today is April 10th, 2025. And today is what may be the final call that I do live for podcast guesting, live Q&A. And you might be wondering, why am I doing this? And, I've been watching a lot of my colleagues and compatriots in the online space, and there's so many webinars and 5-day challenges and all kinds of things where there's this very scripted content, and then there's this very typical thing that you're expecting to have happen, and then the big ask comes, and then you're thinking, okay, do I have to buy something right now or not? And I'm thinking, why don't we just get on the call and talk about podcast guesting and give you answers to your most pressing questions? It's an opportunity for us to get to know each other. It's an opportunity to see how I serve. And if it turns out that there is more that you would like to do with me, well, the next steps will be present and clear. But I don't want there to be any pressure. I just want to be of service and to make this the best time that you could possibly spend this morning to learn about podcast guesting. So before we get started, why don't you post in the chat where you're dialing in from? And if you have a pressing question, why don't you post it in the chat right now? I see Jessica Renner's here, one of my buddies from Bellingham, Washington. How are you? So good to see you. I'd love for you to make your camera, be live on camera so I can see your face and look into your eyes, and that sort of thing is so good. Okay, Beverly's joining us. So can you all hear, you can all hear me, correct? Yes, okay. So I do have some slides. I just have a couple little slides because it's always good to have visuals and to remind you that there is some wonderful content available to you if you haven't availed yourself to it already. So I am going to slideshow. Let's see, view slideshow from the beginning. Yes, you can see this. Yes. Can I see some thumbs up? Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Where are you dialing in from? Want to know that? I am very generous in sharing powerful information that you can use to get your podcast guesting game on. And if you have not yet availed yourself to this sassy report, I highly encourage you to do it now. You can go to getknowngetpaid.com/top 10. That's TOP, the numeral 10. And you can download the top 10 things to do to be the podcast guest who is never invited back. And I promise you, this will be a fun and refreshing read that will turn your head and get you thinking differently about mistakes you may unwittingly be making that are costing you bookings. I also did an interview about this not long ago with Dr. Barnsley Brown, and it's been viewed like 600 times in a couple of days. People loved it because it was so sarcastic and fun. And, if you're tired of that boring blob, blah, blah, blah kind of an approach, this is a way to sort of turn your head and get you thinking. I also have for you, if you have not availed yourself to it already, a very powerful training that you can enjoy on demand that will share with you how you can land 2 high impact guest spots a month to attract big fish clients. Is there anyone here who's willing to raise their hand and say, I want to land some big fish clients? Yes, that's what I love to see. Tanya wants to do that too. If you want to land 2 big fish clients, I advise that you book yourself on 2 of the Right Fit podcasts every month as a steady diet, and that you bring your best wow to every interview. And you know what? Those big fish people are watching and listening. And that means that they'll likely want to reach out to you if your call to action is compelling and persuasive. One of the things I like to point out about podcast guesting is that big fish clients may not swim through your funnel. They may not invest time to go to your 5-day challenge. They may not attend your live or in person or your virtual 3-day event. These are big fish clients. Time is of the essence. But if they hear you speaking up powerfully and provocatively on a podcast while they're driving into work or doing whatever they're doing, and you're fabulous, they can skip through all those steps and go right to making a call with you to have a conversation that involves a credit card. Is anybody interested in that?
Yes.
Right? Tanya's interested. Jessica's interested. Checking the tag. Always got people from Oregon, Toronto, Florida. Yay, yay. Okay, so what else do I have for you? Have you dialed in your hot topics yet? Sometimes people will say, I'd love to have you as a guest on my podcast. What do you like to talk about? And sometimes people are stopped cold because they say, I can talk about a variety of things in a variety of ways. What would be of service to your audience? Which says, my friends, absolutely nothing. So, what I want you to be thinking about is what you want to talk about. So, let's talk about that. What do you want to talk about? What is the conversation you most want to lead? What is the flag that you are carrying that you want to stand on to make your impact in the world? Do you feel compelled to share in the chat or live what you want to talk about? Because I would love to hear. Let's just see what people are saying in the chat. 3 new messages. Okay, people are just traveling and eating breakfast, so face comes in a bit. Okay, thanks, Carol. So if you don't know what you want to talk about, I'm going to give you some suggestions and some inspiration. Oh, Jessica wants to speak up. Go ahead, Jessica. Unmute yourself. What do you want to speak about?
Hey, Nancy. So I love sharing about the world of energy. So many people understand how to go out and get things done with that whole work hard, never give up kind of a thing. But we don't understand because we haven't been taught how energy is a critical component of manifesting and creating anything you want in life. So that's something I can't shut up about. And I would love to share more about with lots of people.
I love the way you said that. That's something I can't shut up about. That is so good. So if you were to dial in a hot topic, let's just look. We're going to look at Milana Lashinsky's media one sheet for a moment to see what she wants to talk about. And then what we're going to do, Jessica, is we're going to come back to you and see if we can dial in a topic that's keenly worded that would be the kind of thing that a host can't wait to talk about too. Okay. So Milana empowers coaches to wow their clients, leverage their genius, and create their own coaching or teaching empire. That's what she does. And what does she want to talk about? Why getting booked solid is the wrong goal for entrepreneurs seeking leverage, scale, and profits, and what to do instead. The what to do instead piece is intrigue and curiosity that compels somebody to say, ooh, ah, sigh, that's interesting. I'd have you on the show just to talk about that. But the why getting booked solid is the wrong goal, that's sort of counterintuitive and interesting. And so it would be a head turner. Another one, how walking away from a 7-figure business helped me discover a new profitable model for unlimited growth. Wow, that's interesting. It's also a little bit counterintuitive. Secrets to creating the ultimate client experience. 3 things almost all coaches get wrong when creating their coaching programs. Wow. So she's not trying to sell something in particular. She's trying to sell a point of view or an idea or a perspective that would be worth talking about. So coming back to you, Jessica, the thing you can't stop talking about is the role that energy plays in every good thing that happens in a life or a business. And why some people, why some people, when you ignore your energy, what does it cost you in the shopping cart and beyond? Like three ahas about what happens when you ignore your energy and what it costs you. There might be something to play with there. How does that start to sound like a topic you'd be excited to share?
Yeah, I think there's definitely something to play with in there. Also, how the idea of working hard is working against you.
Okay, so I want to show you another little formula here. Let's see if we can move on a little bit. Okay, here's Mark Porteous. Let's just see if who's entering the room. Jennifer's joining us. Very good. Okay, so Mark Porteous is a joint venture strategist and online community builder. And one of his topics, which I'm just calling out a formula for you, three crucial questions to answer to ensure that who you are being, what you are doing, and who you are hanging out with are aligned with your business vision and highest value, and what it costs your soul-led and transformational coaching practice when you don't. That's kind of interesting. And so there's a little bit of a formula there. And so, if you say three crucial questions to answer to ensure blah, so you don't blah, the benefit or the advantage of having a topic like that is that a host can look at it and say, wow, Jessica, I could see how we could talk about that for 20 or 40 minutes and deliver a really great show. And so here's another example. Fools don't rush in. Four big ideas to consider before starting a strategic alliance that could go sideways before it even begins. And the single most important question to ask, and it's not how big is your list? I mean, how interesting is that? So when you look at the media one sheets of other icons of influence and you see what they want to talk about, success leaves clues. So here's Megan Huber, who believes that client success is your greatest growth asset, and she guides rapidly growing online education companies to become the best in class at creating superior, profitable, and team managed programs that fuel referrals and reliable growth. Wow, cool for her. So, what does she love to talk about? Why client onboarding is not a one-time event and how to do it differently to set the stage for remarkable client success, world-class client satisfaction, and a never-ending flow of epic right fit referrals. Bam. So whatever is at the top of the media one sheet, who you are, what you do, why you do it, the hot topics need to match. The words and the music need to match so the song can be beautiful. So, Jessica, while we're doing this, see if you can refine a new hot topic that takes into account.
CRS2 want you to net file.
See if you can refine a topic and we'll come back to you. Oh, James Hipkin is in the house. Hey, James Hipkin, how are you?
I am fine.
It's so good to see you here. Wow. So, for y'all who don't know, I used to teach a course called the Broadcast Your Brilliance Boot Camp, where I would teach people how to book themselves on top podcasts without hiring an expensive booking agency. And James Hipkin was among the very first clients to enroll in this program. And he subsequently became the most successful podcast guest I think has crossed my path ever. So tell us about yourself, James. What are you up to? And what, what questions do you have about podcast guesting? And what do you want people to know?
I don't have a lot of questions about it. I'm on 1 to 2 top 10% podcasts a week right now, from on the recording schedule. So
Wow.
I mostly came by to show my support and be another voice to let people know that this is achievable and it is valuable. Um, and it it's also well, for those of us who like talking, me, Nancy, uh, it's also very enjoyable.
So tell us what's happened for you. I mean, first, give people a little perspective. What is your business and who's your ideal client?
Well, we design and build websites for corporations and for small businesses as well. And the business challenge that we face, of course, is you can't stand in a street corner and swing a dead cat and not hit a web developer. Everybody claims they can do this. So how do you break through that noise and differentiate yourself and say, look, there's other ways to think about this. And our focus is very much around, you know, websites are just part of your marketing presence, and that the piece that's missing most often is strategy. When I audit websites, when I audit digital marketing campaigns, the absence of strategy is what really I see over and over and over again. So that's what I spend my time talking about on podcasts, is how to think about your marketing from a strategic point of view, and that will help you break through the noise. I've just come out of a session, finished 15 minutes ago, where I was talking about that. So that's what I'm focused on, is helping people use marketing to create value for their clients as well as for their business.
That's wonderful. That's brilliant. And I'm pretty sure you're an excellent talker. Do you know, y'all notice how articulate and well spoken James is? There's not a lot of ums, ahs, so's, uh, those kinds of conversation stoppers that are hurtful to our ears. He just speaks like a human being, but he has this credibility about the way he expresses himself. So, James, typically at the end of a podcast, the host will say, James, you delivered so much value today. What's the one thing you want our listeners or viewers to do as a result of meeting you today? What is your typical response to that?
Stop trying to boil the ocean. So many people try to do so many things because the shiny stuff is swirling about their head. Do a few things well, and when you think you've got them down, figure out how to do them better.
Very good. And I'm just curious, do you have a call to action like download my irresistible free gift or book a
Okay,
call with James or something like that?
that's a really um, good question. And there's two schools of thought. There's it depends on your business. Our target audience is high six-figure, low seven-figure business owners.
Big
And
fish, big
yeah,
fish.
so my call to action is talk to me. Go to vipchatwithjames.com and you can get book a virtual coffee, and we can talk about your business. We can talk about marketing, etc. For me, that's a much more effective way to attract these bigger folks. The Bonnie, who's my marketing director, who's also active on podcasts, her audience is, she's looking for more entry level folks who are looking for digital marketing, et cetera. And for her, the lead magnet is a more effective tool. So again, and this is what I preach when I'm online, understand who your audience is and understand the journey that they are on, and craft your offer to be in alignment with who they are and what they need
And how they want it delivered.
and
Because
how they want it delivered. Exactly.
because at the top of the call, you might have missed this because you joined a moment or two after we started, but I was talking about who wants to attract big fish clients who will sidestep your funnel, don't care about your free gift, and just want to talk to the guy whose name is on the door. And
Right.
so for everyone who's watching or listening today, who is your ideal client? And are they the kind of person that wants to swim for your funnel? Or are they the kind of person that wants to talk to the person whose name is on the door? And so, James, that URL for your book a call with James, what was it one more time?
vipchatwithjames.com.
And so for those who are, that's so easy to remember. And that's really important because when people are listening to podcasts, typically they're driving a car, taking their kids to school, walking their dog, maybe they're riding the bike on the treadmill. They're not going to remember some gobbledygook URL that has all kinds of code and punctuation, but they can remember VIPchatwithjames.com. And so that involved you purchasing for $10 or $15 a domain at one of the domain registration sites and just making it easy for people.
Mhm.
Voila,
And
right?
I learned that from Nancy.
Well, I'm so glad that it's so rewarding for me when people who are smart belly up to the bar to learn how to do it and become world class on their own. And so, if you're willing to stay a few more minutes, we'd love to have you because it's two people having a perspective on all the other folks who are here who have questions. And I should ask you one other important question, which is clearly you are using podcast guesting as a way to differentiate yourself from a sea of many competitors by using your voice to convey your credibility, your authority, your passion for the work. Are you able to notice that new businesses come your way, new speaking opportunities have come your way, um, opportunities to collaborate with people here and beyond? What kinds of outcomes have you been able to welcome given your ongoing commitment to podcast guesting?
It has been worthwhile. It brings a lot of credibility, even if somebody doesn't necessarily come to me via a podcast. The fact that because everybody does a Google search, right? And before they reach out to you, they're going to look into you. And when people do a Google search on my name, they see, my God, he's in all these different places talking about marketing and that sort of thing. People have told me this. Clients that have come to us have said, look, I did some investigating before I engaged with you, and you're everywhere. And that has value. It also has value because my marketing team takes the recordings that we do and they repurpose this. They repurpose it into blog posts. They repurpose it into social media ads. They repurpose it into emails. They repurpose what I'm talking about. And when you do that, it's not fake marketing. It's real people talking about real things with real language. And that is so important because at the end of the day, people hire people. And, this is an opportunity for them to understand that I have a sense of humor. I'm smart about this stuff, but I can speak to it in a way that people understand. And it helps and it matters. Now, it's not for everyone, every business, etc., but it does make a lot of sense um, in situations where you're trying to break through the noise and generate a differentiator for yourself.
Excellent. Now, we were just talking a few moments ago about what our hot topics are. I'm pretty sure yours are well dialed in. What do you like to talk about? What is the conversation you most want to lead? What is your hot topic?
Inside out marketing versus outside in marketing. Inside out marketing is what most people do. It's the business owner standing on his rooftop shouting at the world at large about how awesome they are. It doesn't work. The world at large doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Outside in marketing is understanding who your ideal customer is and who they aren't. And then understanding what they're looking for. What is the pain that they're struggling with, and what is the transformation that they're hoping to achieve? If you can speak to that and resonate with that, you'll get their attention.
Well,
And then
I want to say it's so great when I'm able to say, what do you like to talk about and why does it matter? And to have somebody be able to say, this is what I like to talk about and this is why it matters. Because what happens in podcast guesting, it's all started with a conversation between two
Mhm.
human beings. The beautiful thing about podcast guesting is typically there's dozens or maybe hundreds or maybe thousands of people who have been carefully curated who are also listening, that they get to hear that too. So as long as we're talking about this, this happens a lot. I'll often ask people, do you have a free gift and what is it? The first answer is yes, I have a free gift. But when I say, what is it? So often people say, oh, I can't remember the title. Let me go check that out. I'll get back to you. And I think to myself, opportunity lost. Your lead magnet should be so well titled that you can recite it chapter and verse anytime, anywhere, when you wake up to get your first cup of coffee, when you're standing in line to do whatever, like, oh yeah, how to transform your boring bio from wallpaper to wow to attract clients now. Bam! You should know what it is. Know what it is. So what is your we've
And
got
I'll give you a pro tip if you don't mind,
oh
Nancy.
please.
I'm busy. Go outside.
People
And
probably
somebody,
won't.
but James, just one moment. Somebody, Jennifer, needs to be muted. Jennifer Richards, if you wouldn't mind muting yourself, that would be great. Go ahead, James.
So what Nancy is saying is right on, but there's an undercurrent to this as well that you should be aware of. The podcast host may not remember what your gift was, but they will remember how confident you were when you spoke about it.
Mhm.
And don't lose track of that, because what podcasters are looking for, and I think one of the reasons why I get invited back so frequently, I've been on multiple top 5% podcasts multiple times, is because when I talk with confidence. Because the confidence is what people are looking for. They want that confidence to support their own decisions that they need to make. And if they hear somebody else speaking about these things in confidence, they probably won't remember all of the details, but they will remember the confidence.
Ooh, mic drop moment. So that leads me to another question, as long as we have you here, which is such a blessing. You've been on a number of top 5% podcasts, and I'm guessing anyone on this call wondering, how did James book himself on top 1% podcasts? Anybody willing to raise their hand and say, James, tell us how you did it? James, how did you do it? Put it in the chat, because James, how do you do it?
Well, I can tell you how I used to do it. Now I've trained a VA. Her name is Nikki, and Nikki runs my life now. She's got this down to an art form, the way she works with podcasters and their
Oops, James just froze.
time about who else do you know, et cetera. And we now have, a bunch of other folks that Nikki is doing podcast guest bookings for. Um, it's about being personal. She listens to the podcasts. She understands what they're looking for. She asks questions of the podcaster about, she doesn't pitch necessarily. She asks questions about who's your audience, what's your ideal client look like. She builds a relationship with the podcasters. And as a result of that, she then knows how to both coach me on what it is that I should be talking about, and also sets the pod. And podcasters love her because when they get something from her, it's clearly not canned. It's something that she has crafted based on listening to their podcasts and understanding who they are, etc. So that's how she separates herself from all of the other hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of connections. You know,
Well, let
people.
me let me jump in for a moment, because there's a couple things I'd like to unpack. First off, you said clearly not canned, clearly not canned. And I just want to point out that there are a number of gurus out there that are sharing their tried and true podcast pitching templates so that you can copy the template and revise the subject and the topic to be what you are. And I think that these people are thinking that this approach is going to be wildly effective. But in my experience, this approach is wildly ineffective because the way it feels when you, the decision maker, are on the receiving end, it feels like somebody sent you a template where they put their information in and are hoping that you'll pick them. But this is the most powerful arbiter of all. And this is the thing that allows people to hit the delete key. They go delete, 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 because I'm going to be colorful here, but was it good for you? It sure wasn't good for me. It's just not, you don't feel seen, heard, and celebrated. It's so much better when you can say, I've listened to the last 5 podcasts where you talk to A, B, C, D, and E people about this, and I'm riveted. And I actually have something additional to add to that conversation. This is who I am. This is what I talk about. This is why it matters to me. I think we could have a really great conversation about this. Don't you agree? Can we talk about having me on the show? It's so much better when you see, hear, and celebrate the show you want to be on before you make a pitch for yourself. So the clearly not canned, be the antidote to that. That would be
Right.
one thing I want to say from what you said. Then the other thing I want to say is I want to dig into is you said, well, the way I used to do it, and now you have someone who does it for you. I'm guessing there are people on this call that don't yet have the resources or freedom to have someone booking them on shows. So when you were starting out and doing it for yourself, is there anything you want to share with people about what you learned or how you got yourself
Yeah,
booked?
I mean, Nikki is doing what she's doing because I've trained her based on actually doing it myself. Um, Keep a record, be consistent, don't take it personally if nobody responds, you know, and always look for opportunities to create value. One of the things that I continue to do today is when you do get into a podcast, the green room is your friend. There, you will get more value out of the conversations before the podcast and after the podcast in many situations than you'll get from the podcast because those podcasters are talking to all kinds of people. And it's about building those relationships and building those networks. And hey, I was interviewed a guy last week that you really ought to meet. And or one of my standard things at the end of a podcast is tell me about your ideal client and who you're looking for. Maybe I know somebody in my network who'd be a good guest for you.
So good. Because what you're demonstrating here is that this is a relationship medium.
Mm-hmm.
And if we approach this with that in mind, not only will the podcast live on indefinitely online because that's where they live, but the relationship you craft with this influencer can end up giving back to you in so many ways. Sometimes the host will say, James, I didn't even know I needed a new website, but after talking to you, I'd really like you to do an audit to tell me what's wrong with it. And maybe you can help me and I can hire you to do it, which would
And
be
that
very,
has literally happened.
what's the investment? I mean, I'm sure it's a meaningful investment to have a website created by your firm. Is it in the 4 or 5 figures?
It depends on what you're doing. The large corporate sites will run 75, 80 grand kind of range. But, we also have a product called Innately, which is a semi-custom solution. And I created this product. And this is also a good example of how you want to think about pitching yourself as a guest. You are a product. And a product is going to be successful if it solves a real problem. So think about what is the real problem that the podcaster has, and then how can you present yourself as a solution to that problem? That's a shift in the mindset, But I find that when we do that, we are much more likely to get a head nod and a yes, please, because they're like, where have you been all my life? This is what I'm looking for. And when I'm in the green room before a podcast, I always, always, always ask the podcaster, tell me about your audience. People like to talk about themselves. And that leaves a very positive feeling in their mind about this conversation they had with you because they did most of the talking. But you're also gaining a great deal of insight into what it is that they're looking for. And then during the podcast itself, that's sitting in the back of your mind. So when you're talking about whatever it is you're talking about, you're not shilling a product. You're bringing value to the podcaster's audience.
Very good. James, I'm so excited that you joined today. I wasn't expecting you, but boy, can we just give James like a wave? Like James is getting the wave. So, this is so good to have you here because, you know, some people say they take a very casual approach to podcast guesting. If I get invited to go, I'll do it. If I get invited to go, I'll do it. But when you make podcast guesting central to your visibility, authority, and credibility boosting strategy, and you make it a steady habit, it's a whole different ballgame. And that's really what I'm trying to advance in this work, which is if you like to talk and you're good at it, and you like to create relationships with icons of influence, podcast guesting can be your new best friend. The additional benefit of podcast guesting is it's so much less complicated and complex than some of the models that you may be observing among your most admired gurus out there. Do you want to do a live 3-day event? Do you want to do a 5-day challenge? Do you want to have the back end be all complicated so your eyes are glazing over? These are, if that's what you love, then knock yourself out and have yourself a party. But I really like talking to human beings about what it is that I'm excited to talk about and having them be interested in it and have their whole audience be interested in it too, because it feels like a very refreshing way to create relationships across the miles that can be very fruitful in the balance sheet and beyond. So I want to make sure I answer other questions that are coming up. So James, I'm going to answer Carol's question. And if there's more that you want to chime in, we'll be thrilled to hear from you. So Carol is saying, how to search for podcasters whose audience I can provide value to with my knowledge about helping dementia caregivers be able to find calm confidence in their bizarre dementia journey. So, Carol, I'm going to give you some suggestions. A simple thing to do is to go to Google and say, search for top podcasts in 2025 that address the topic of dementia. Chances are you're going to get a list straight away of the top podcasts that are on that subject matter. And usually they tell you where you can listen to them on iTunes, what the show host's mission is, and they often will tell you how you can get in touch. Awesome, right? So, Carol, that's one idea. Another idea is there are so many podcast guest matchmaking sites available today. If you've probably heard of Tinder for dating, it's an online site where people go to make hookups with people they want to have relationships with of any shape or form. How's that for a fun way to describe it? But there are podcast guest matchmaking sites that are readily available. Many of them are free, and some of them have a modest fee. But the beautiful thing about them is they're hosts looking for guests and they're guests looking for hosts. And if you have your host-friendly bio, your suggested interview questions, the hot topics that you most want to talk about, all that dialed in, you can transfer this information to these various portals And sometimes as soon as 24 to 48 hours later, you're getting invitations to be a guest on shows that are right for your message. So if you're curious about a couple of them, I'll pop in the chat here. One of my favorites is Podmatch. And I'm just going to put the getknowngetpaid.com/podmatch. For $20 a month, you can join this fabulous community, and you can, I'm just putting it in the chat here. You can join this fabulous community. And the beautiful thing about joining a paid community where people pay $20 a month is that, don't you agree that the people who pay for services are more interested and inclined in paying for more services? The people that belly up to the free bar as a steady diet tend to languish at the free bar for a really long time. And I like working with people that are invested in their success. So for $20 a month, I love going to Podmatch and having people reach out to me and say, hey, Nancy, we'd like to have you as a guest on the show. And then my job it is to reply as compellingly and timely as possible, so they feel really glad that they asked. You don't want to be getting an invitation and saying, oh yeah, I'll get around to that some other time. No, you want to treat these opportunities and invitations with a level of urgency that demonstrates the measure of your commitment. And so Podmatch is one example. There's another one called matchmaker.fm. There's another one you can find called Need a Guest, which is on Facebook. There's another one called the Podcast Guest Collaboration Group on Facebook. These are all free, and you can join them all, and some people do. But the caution I would extend to you about joining them all is it's an awful lot to manage. And so I would rather join one or two of these groups and double down on them and get results from them, as opposed to spreading myself across so many platforms that I can't possibly see straight. So that's a question. Who else has a question? Want to raise your hand and speak up? Because that's what we're here to do. Sherry Hogan, please unmute yourself and tell us who you are and where you're calling from. And,
Okay, great. My name is Sherry Hogan English, and I am a certified high performance coach under Brendan Burchard's High Performance Institute. And my ideal client, the client that I specialize in, is women that are 60 and older, who usually have been quite accomplished in their lives, and usually had a family. So, that we listen to those, we're usually 60 and over. So we're boomer age, and we listen to all those
60 and better.
60 and better. Oh, I love that.
You know why I like that? 60 and over sounds like over and out, where 60 and better suggests that the best is yet to come. And there's a whole different mindset shift that happens there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's a gift. Thank you. So, so I work with women who realize they're entering their third act of life, and they want that act to be the best one of all. And so we really do deep dives on who they are and who they want to be. And we fill in that, the gap, so that in other words, we're always learning and growing and training for where we want to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, including anything we want to accomplish, where we want to live.
So tell us now about your podcast guesting question.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So that's just who I am. Great. And then I've only done one podcast, and it was for another high performance coach. And so we were mostly talking about high performance coaching. And that's for anybody. That wasn't specifically my audience. So I've just been pulling together my messaging and all of that, and I'll just start posting online. I haven't done that yet. I was lucky for about 2 years. I had a good amount of referrals, but then if you're not marketing, those dry up. So I don't know. I'm new to podcasting. I listen to them. And so I came here today just to find out, sort of how this works. And I was trying to look up this in the, so I don't have a specific question. I was here for just all the goodies.
That's
and
okay.
and then to see, what you have to offer as far as continuing to work together. And then on the on-demand video training podcast guesting playbook, there was a URL that you had in this slide, but I typed it out and I thought I did every letter properly, but when I click on it, it won't open it. The internet tells the
I think
URL is correct in some way.
let me read it to you. It's HTTPS colon // This is an example of me not taking my own advice. I am going to show the slides for a moment so you can see it.
Yeah.
Just bear with me for a second. I'm going to, let's see.
Well, I did put it in the chat if you
Yeah,
wanted
but
to.
I think it's not number 1 pages, it's L pages. It's
Okay.
an L, not a 1.
Okay.
And so just bear with me for a minute. Share the screen. Here we go. Can you see my slide now?
I can.
Oops. It's right here.
Yeah.
So just copy this down. L pages, like L as in love, lpages.co/2 podcast guest spots a month can make all the difference.
Excuse
Okay.
me, Nancy,
Yes.
since you have that slide, could you just copy that as is and put it in the chat? Then it'll be clickable by us.
For some reason, it's not letting me copy
Hey,
it.
Nancy, I just did it.
Oh,
I
you
threw it
did?
in there for you.
Did you
Yeah,
put it in
got
the chat? Thanks for putting it in the chat. I love a community. I love a
Yeah.
community. You know,
Okay. Yes. So
I never said that I was the best at technology, but I'm a really good talker. And so review slideshow from current slide moving.
yeah. So thank
Yeah.
you, Jessica.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Jessica, you're a rock star. Okay. So Sherry,
Yes.
when you're a high performance coach who works with women who are 60 and better, who want the rest of your life to be the best of your life,
Mhm.
it would likely make sense that you want to speak on podcasts that appeal to women in that audience.
Right.
So just for fun, and we're just going to do this live because why the hell not? I'm going to Zoom. Excuse me. I'm sharing my screen. I am going to an open window and I'm going top podcasts serving women 60 and better who want to live inspired, successful lives. 10 best podcasts for women over 60 you must follow in 2025. 10 inspirational podcasts for women over 60. Here are 5 of the best podcasts for older women. The 30 best motivational podcasts for women to get inspired. You can find these things if you're just getting started. Just do a Google search and see what comes up. And so here, I just clicked on the first one, and here we go. Ask the Health Expert, Aging Gratefully with Holly Carey, Women Beyond a Certain Age podcast. There they are. And you can,
Nancy, would you do me a
yes,
favor and just, grab that URL and put it in the chat?
yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
So I'm
And
going
then I'll do but it'll be good just for me to see, that. So there's 10 there. That's enough to just kind of digest what's going on and what they're looking for and, all that kind of stuff. So thank
right.
you.
And so, yeah, so this is, you've heard people say, oh, you should have 100 points of light, 100 places out there that you can go. Are you one of those people that feels a little bit overwhelmed by 100 of anything? 8 is
Yeah.
really great. 8 is really great. So if you choose 8 really great shows that are on the money, on the topic, that you can sample and get excited about, you can create a schedule for yourself. You're only looking to do 2 podcasts a month as a steady diet to get started. So make sure you choose the right show that's got the right audience, that has the right vibe for what it is that you want to talk about. And the only way you're going to know that is if you listen. And so if you ride a bike, if you take your kids to school, if you take walks with your dog. If you are cooking dinner and need to be listening to something, listen to the shows that you most want to be a guest on. And sometimes you'll listen to them and say, oh no, I don't want to go, because they're dropping F-bombs and speaking in an irreverent manner that doesn't feel like who you are and you wouldn't feel like a fit. Make that choice and say, that's not for me. But if you listen and you go, I can't wait to meet this lady and have a conversation about what I want to talk about, then you can start visualizing what it will feel like when you are actually on the mic talking to that person. And I find that very, very intoxicating. So hope that was helpful, that Sherry Hogan English.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. So Beverly Jensen says, what is considered the best of these groups, or Nancy's favorite? My favorite is Podmatch, because people pay to belong, and that means they're invested. Also, the founder, Alex Sanfilippo, is one of the most inspiring entrepreneurs that I've come across in recent years. He builds a wonderful community, and the people, it's a relationship business. I mean, there's another guy that's doing something very similar, but it feels like a karaoke song every single time I go to his site. There's no soul there. And you start to realize, like, where's the soul? Where's the match? Where do I feel that I can belong? And so Podmatch is my favorite. What other questions are coming up? This is a great opportunity for you to ask me anything. So what do you want to know? Laura Barker, what do you want to know? Putting you on the spot. Anyone else want to ask me questions?
I do have a question, actually.
Okay, good.
I'm trying to get back to my camera, and here we go. So what value is there in, like, getting on podcasts with not very many followers? Like, is that a real relevant thing to be looking at?
I am so glad you asked. Can I tell you a little story?
Please.
Okay, so it's not, another colorful comment. Size doesn't really matter. Size doesn't really matter if you're talking to the right people. And so I'll give you an example. I teach people how to make the most of podcast guesting. I love talking about it. One of my longtime colleagues and friends, Henry DeVries, has a podcast called Marketing with a Book and a Speech. And he has speakers and authors that are on his show wanting to hear about relevant topics that would interest them. And he said, will you be a guest on my show? It's not a very big show. I said, I'm honored to be asked. It sounds like a perfect fit. And gosh, we've been friends for 30 years. It would be great to be in a conversation with you. So we get on the phone, get on the call, and he totally surprises me. And he says, Nancy, you know so much about this. I'm just going to hand the microphone over to you, and I want you to teach us whatever you want to teach us in the next 15 minutes. Just go for it. And I thought, I'll practice the bend and sway, because I wasn't expecting that. And I just picked up the microphone. I said, well, it's so good to be here. Let me see what value I can bring in the next 15 minutes. So it'll be the best 15 minutes of your week. And I explained essential elements of what needed to be known. There were 27 people on that call. And at the end of the call, even though I made no offer, 4 of them reached out and said, I want to work with you. How can we get started? 4 divided by 27. 4 divided by 27 is a 14.8% conversion rate, and I didn't even make an offer. I just showed up and brought the value. So is there anyone here that leads webinars or, teleclasses or anything like that? Industry standard from a webinar is that 3% of live callers who are participating live on a call will likely buy. 3%. I'm talking here to 27 people, and almost 15% decided to buy. To me, that is a powerful case study. So it's not so much how many listeners, it's the right listeners. That's number 1. Number 2, would you rather speak to 27 people or 0 people? We don't want to die with our song inside of us. We want our song to be heard and seen and celebrated by people who need to hear it right now. Number three, if we speak in any shape or form, teleclass, webinar, 3-day event, keynote speech, whatever the different ways are that we can raise our voice and make our impact, the more we do it, the more masterful we become. And so, as masterful as you become as a great deliverer of content and value, you just get better at it and it's obvious to people. And so what ends up happening is someone hears you on a show or a stage or a this or a that, and then they reach out to you and say, "You were so awesome, Laura, on that podcast. Will you come and be on our summit? You were so awesome. We're looking for people to participate in this. We're looking to participate in that." So whatever method you pursue to raise your voice and make your impact, be world class as you do it, because people will notice. And don't throw out the baby. No, don't say, "No, I won't speak to 27 people." I'll speak to 27 people if they're the right people. You bet your bottom dollar. I'm ready to go right now.
Oh, me too. Me too. If it's 10 people, 5 people, that's 5 people I wasn't going to talk to.
What do you like to talk about, Laura?
I love to share the wonders of LinkedIn.
Okay.
If you're going wonders of LinkedIn and kind of scratching your head, we need to talk, because LinkedIn is a fabulous business builder. It's where your people are, your clients are there, your collaborators are there, the information is there. Your presence on LinkedIn is going to grow you professionally, it's going to grow your business. It's also going to grow you as a leader as you move up in your business and grow, and it grows. So I love seeing all that growth, and I love facilitating all of that growth through LinkedIn.
Laura, the three most compelling wonders of LinkedIn, and the one feature you had no idea how good it could be.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
a topic. There's a topic for you that would be interesting. Are
Yeah.
you doing much in the way of podcast guesting?
Not yet. So
No?
I've definitely done it. I mean, I've done a number of podcasts just over the years, just sort of randomly. A friend has one, and so I, love to be on there for her or him, and then I've done some for some more targeted groups. I've done a couple of podcasts that are, I guess they were almost like private meetings, mastermind type group. Like that.
So there's something you said that I want to elaborate on, because I think it's important. You said, and listen, I'm happy to stay another 15 minutes if y'all are willing to stay another 15 minutes to chat and get questions answered. Because this is why we're here. But you said, I've done a few for some friends, and then I've done a few that for different groups. Does anyone here want to know some criteria to consider when you are trying to decide if it's worth your time to do the show?
Yes, thank you.
So sometimes your girlfriend or your guy friend or your colleague will say, "I'm starting a podcast and I would be so honored to have you as my guest." And because you have a relationship with this person, you feel inclined that maybe you should support them, because that's just what good friends do for each other. And I'm not going to say that's hard, that I'm not saying don't do it. But if I were to give you guidance, the thing about a brand new podcast is there are very few listeners paying attention. And so you're doing your friend a service or a solid, but you may not be doing yourself any favors that will be more fruitful in the shorter term. So what I suggest to people is choose podcasts that have between 20 and 100 episodes already produced, where an audience is already in place, where when you get to speak up, it's not just you and the host having a chat, but it's you and the host and all of those people that are listening, because you're going to get a greater return on your time, effort, and resource by talking to people that are already in place than by doing favors for your friends. And so one of the ways that I get around that, because I get invited to do that for my friends all the time, is I say, "I'm very honored to be asked, and I'm super excited that you're starting this. in the beginning, there's so much to learn and do. How about you get in touch with me when you have 20 episodes in the can? I'll happily play. Because there is something called pod fade, where people start a podcast thinking it's going to be the greatest thing. Thank you, James, for being here. Let's give James the wave. James, if you have a link where people can do the VIP chat with James, go ahead and drop it in there, because I bet you people are going to want to reach out to you or make referrals to you. And wouldn't that be awesome? So appreciate you, James. So I'll say to people, when you have 20 episodes in the can and you've really dialed in what it's about and why it matters, that's when I'd like to come and bring my magic. I'm not saying no, not ever. I'm saying no, not right now, because I want to use my time where there's going to be the best possible impact. So be discerning where you show up. Thank you, James. What other questions are coming up for y'all? Are you getting some value? Oh, Tanya has a question. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, great value. Thank you for doing this. The question I have, I just launched a podcast, and so I'm in that place of not really having listeners yet. So trying to get on somebody else's podcast, how do I position that when I don't really have listeners myself yet, and I don't really have a big business yet?
Good question. Good question. Well, let me ask you, what do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I don't have a quite a succinct topic like the ones you've been talking about. So I realize I need some work, need to do some work around that. But essentially helping women get out of exhaustion, out of overwhelm. I love to talk about different tools and ways we can do that.
Okay. Well,
And not any women, busy women, high achieving women who are
3 uncommon ways for busy professional women to stop overwhelm in its tracks, and 1 thing never to do. Right?
Thank you. Yeah.
I mean, that's a topic. If you want to be a guest on someone else's show, and there's a couple things I want to say strategically here. One of the best ways you can grow your audience for your own podcast is to be a guest on someone else's. So ask yourself, what is the flag you want to carry? What is the conversation you most want to lead? What do you want to talk about that would be amazing? And then find those shows that would be interested in that. And so just for kicks, I'm just going to share my screen again, just to make it easy for y'all. And I'm going to go to top podcasts serving high achieving women who struggle with overwhelm. Let's just see what happens. Best high achieving women podcasts, best women overwhelmed podcasts, best high achieving women podcasts, best women work-life balance podcasts. See how easy it is? Yeah. If you know who your people are and what you want to talk about, you can find the podcast very quickly. And then you can make an approach. And so that might be an opportunity for me to do a little segue here, if I may. I'm going to stop that share and I'm going to start a new one. I'm sharing my screen. I'm going to go back to sorry, I'm just trying to go back to my slides. Here we go. You can see my slides, right? Since we're near the top of the hour, you who are here today might be thinking, Nancy, you're so awesome. I'd love to get more value from you if I could. What do you have in the store? Is anybody wondering about that? Yeah, people are wondering. So would it surprise you to know that I have taught over 5,000 people, including the amazing James Hipkin, how to book themselves on top shows without hiring an expensive booking agency? It's absolutely true. It is the best value in my shopping cart. The Podcast Dream Guest Mastery online course is $297, and it includes 5 deep dive videos that are just like me talking to you now, very high energy, very relatable, very fun to be with. And you're going to learn how to prepare, position, prioritize, pitch, ping pong, and profit from podcast guesting. All of my favorite podcast guest matchmaking sites are included. There's a a media one sheet gift template that you can follow to create your own. All the finesse that you need to know is packed within this course. And when you do the course and do your media one sheet draft within the first 30 days, you get to send your media one sheet to me personally, and I will review it and make at least 3 suggestions to make your media one sheet sizzle even hotter than it is already. That is what you get for $297. It is the best training you can consume to become masterful at this medium, and you'll be smiling all the way to the bank. There's one other option you have, and if you want this, you can go to podcastdreamguestmastery.com and you can just make your purchase right now and start running for the roses. If you would rather have me do your one sheet for you, well, guess what? You can do that too. I will interview you in a private call and I'll pull all your magic out of you, and my team will create a beautiful media one sheet like the ones you saw earlier in this call. And you will also get the course so that you have everything you need at the ready to rock and roll. This is a $997 value, and y'all come. I love doing this. I'm a messaging magician. I can pull magic out of you like nobody's business. And icons of influence in our industry count on me to do that for them. People like Milana Lashinsky and Mark Porteous and Charlotte Jacobs and Megan Huber, and the list goes on and on. The wall of fame for my media one sheet service is very impressive, and I would love to place you there alongside these amazing people. And so if you feel that having my word wizardry to your benefit would be magic that you've been waiting for, you can go to this link, getknowngetpaid.com/get/ Jessica, would you mind posting that one in the chat since you know how to do this? That'd be so great. And so that would be great. So those are 2 ways you can work with me. And so I want to say that sometimes people say, oh, I learned just enough on the live Q&A to be slightly dangerous. I think I'm good. You have no idea how much better you're going to be when you avail yourself to either one of these options, because I go deep, I deliver the details, I deliver the stories, and I will deliver the inspiration and the magic so that you feel incredibly well served. And I'll be so proud to welcome you to a future call like James. I didn't know James was coming today, but I'm very proud of him because I've got all these little messengers out there that are beating the drum and making magic happen. So Jessica, I saw your hand was up, so let's talk to you.
Yeah, I do have a question, but before that, I just have to say I have known you, Nancy, for many, many years. And for everyone here, I need you to know I've never met anyone who is better at messaging than Nancy. My former world has been in graphic design, marketing. I know that really well, and she's incredible. And the way that I really gauge that is it's one thing if you can talk the talk when you're doing business. Nancy can't help herself. She's got incredible messaging dripping out of her during coffees, quick phone calls, walks in the park. It's absolutely incredible. And I just had to share that because I've learned so much from her. So I just had to say that.
Thank you. I'm honored. I'm honored.
Now, now to my question. Can you speak a little bit to overcoming imposter syndrome when you are new to podcast guesting and, the thought of, do you even go for a bigger podcast? Do you go for smaller ones? What if you're new in your industry? There's a lot swirling in my head around that.
What a beautiful question. Thank you for asking it. I will start with something that Jonathan Bach said. He said, if you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. If you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. So if you're up to a mindset shift today, you are awesome. All of you are awesome in your expertise right now. You all have a story to tell. Your work deserves a much wider audience. It doesn't matter if you're brand new at it. It doesn't matter if you've been at it for a really long time. What matters is that you have something to share and a way to add value to the world. And why should you delay whatever beautiful outcomes could result from you sharing your story right now? Now, as to where do you start? I've been a publicist all my life, and I would never advise a client to pitch Oprah, the Oprah Winfrey Show, as their very first show, because it just feels like it wouldn't be a win, because if you don't have enough of a track record yet, maybe you got to wait a while, but you put that on your wish board, you put that on your vision board, whatever the equivalent of Oprah is for you. Some people want to be on John Lee Dumas' Entrepreneur on Fire podcast because it is just a very influential podcast. And, or, whoever your favorite one is. But if you start with 8 really great shows that are right for your message, and you tell your story and make your approach like it matters, it will be received in a similar way. Start with shows that have 20 episodes, so you at least have an audience, and then work on your confidence. The first time you do anything, those people who are starting podcasts, I know many, many people have started podcasts. I have a podcast too. It's the Learn More, Earn More show on YouTube, and I've got hundreds of shows there. But if you ask any host of any show how they felt about their first episode, they will cringe and say that they sucked wind in the worst possible way. The very first time you do anything, you usually aren't fabulous at it. So want it enough to suck at it and get better would be one thing I would say. Want it enough to suck better. And then just keep getting better as you go. And I guess that's what I would say about imposter disease. I will also say this, and many of you may know this. I had breast cancer in 2022. It was very confronting. Maybe people who've had a life-threatening illness. But when you're lucky enough to come back from a life-threatening illness, what happened for me was I didn't want to run around the merry-go-round anymore and take little steps. I wanted to get on the track and run for the roses, because the rest of my life is supposed to be the best of my life. And why am I going to argue for my limitations when my upside is so great? So mindset is such a big part of any of this. So don't allow yourself to languish in self-limiting beliefs when other kinds of beliefs will serve you so much better. How do you feel about that, Jessica?
That was great. Thank you, Nancy.
Is there anyone here who's pivoting to do something else, given that they were doing something else, 10 years before? Sometimes we think to ourselves, oh, well, I was in corporate for 20 years doing ABC, but now I'm doing this. And so it feels like I'm a beginner or newbie or just getting started. Just because you're starting this other thing does not negate the 20 years of awesomeness that preceded it, where you developed the skills and the mastery and the confidence and the wherewithal to have the courage to pivot to the next thing anyway. So own your full expression, own your full experience. Somebody needs to hear your message, and when they do, they will be so touched by it that they will want more from you, and that's what we're counting on. And Carol says, anything worth doing well is worth doing poorly to start. Amen, sister. So it's 11:15-ish or so. Are you glad you came to the call? I'm so glad that you came. If you're inspired to work with me, this Done For You podcast guest ready package is the most high value, affordable way to get me all to yourself that's on the menu. And you can book it now and schedule it at a time that's convenient for you. If you prefer to do the course all by itself, which is amazing, there it is right there. The course will deliver to you instantaneously. And the big benefit to you of getting into action right away is that you'll have me to share your media one sheet with within 30 days of your purchase. And I want to tell you why I do it this way. People find it hard to write about themselves, talk about themselves. They get stuck in perfectionism. They spend weeks and weeks dotting I's and crossing T's. And all this opportunity just goes right out the window because you were perseverating over perfection instead of getting into action and getting in the game. One of my former clients, who was amazing, by the way, she was in this bucket, and she was getting on my last nerve because she was wasting valuable time. And I said, "Where's your media one sheet?" She gave it to me. I said, "Are you open to some upgrades right now?" And she said, "Yes." And so I said, "Hand it over." And I just went to work just like that. Boom, 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 boom. And we were done in a minute. And I said, "How do you like them apples?" She says, "Oh my God, I sound so amazing." I said, "If you don't put this on Podmatch tonight, I'm going to come out there with my bow and arrow and knock your head right off your block." It was my velvet boot of accountability saying, "What are you frickin' waiting for?" Well, what do you know? 24 to 48 hours, she had 3 interview requests straight away. The reason I want you to get your media one sheet done within 30 days is because if you perseverate a moment longer, you're letting opportunity pass you by when you could have booked yourself on a bunch of shows. And it is fun to do. It's rewarding to do. It's intoxicating to see what happens. I mean, let me just show you one other thing. I want you to see something that I think you might get a kick out of. Just one more try here. I'm going to go to share screen. I'm going to go here. Let's see, how do I do this? I want to, what I wanted to do, if you go to my website, getknowngetpaid.com/, I'm just trying to remember how to do this. Just stay with me for just a minute here. I'm doing this. I hate when I can't do what I want to do when I want to do it. Let me just try one other thing. I guess I'll do this and I'll share. Okay, now just let me show you something that's kind of sexy and intoxicating. Okay. Speaking. Interview Nancy. This is a place where you can find everything you'd ever want to do if you want to interview me, which this has been very helpful to me. But this is what I wanted to show you, my press page. When you're a guest on a podcast, the host is going to create a thumbnail with your picture on it and give you a graphic so you can see all the places that you've been shown as an interview. I mean, look at this. If you lived across the country somewhere else and you stumbled upon this and said, "Do I want to have Nancy on my show?" Just by looking at this page, you'd probably say, "Here's a gal that can put a couple sentences together to save her life. I can sample her at any time. She's really got it going on. I have no doubt that she's going to be a great guest on my show." You can also look for Nancy Juetten on podcasts on a Google search and look at this. They go on and on. They go on and on and on. If you have ever felt invisible, people can't find you, they can't hear you, they don't know anything about you. What if all these podcasts were big, huge billboards for you so that people could find you more readily and want to do business with you faster? This is the intoxicating thing that I don't know how to put a value on, but the way it makes you feel and the credibility that you experience and how imposter disease goes the hell in the back rear of your mirror. Like, start doing it and start winning. You will have so much fun and you will be seen, you will be heard, you will be celebrated, and ultimately you will be compensated because you made a commitment to make podcast guesting your favorite visibility strategy. So this, my friends, is my invitation to you. If you need help to get ready to go, Who are you going to call? You're not going to call Ghostbusters. You're calling me. And I would be honored to work with you. And it would be my pleasure. So I would like to thank you all for being here. And if you have anything further you want to ask, now would be the time. Beverly says, thank you. It's been a very useful hour. Thank you. Great stuff. I need to go. Thank you so much. Great information. Not seeing it. Did you not see, you didn't see the page, Jessica? Is that what you said? Beverly?
That was from before, just with the share. I wasn't seeing it, but that's okay.
So if you go to my website, getknowngetpaid.com, and you look for the drop-down menu that says press, that's where you'll see it. But how many podcasts do you want to book in the second quarter of 2025? What will stop you from doing it? And could I be the solution that you have been waiting for? So going back to, remember the slides, going back to the slides, share, slides, share. If you're hungry for more information, this sassy report, getknowngetpaid.com/top 10, it's a great read. And if you want to watch the webinar that makes the case for how you can lasso those big fish clients into your ecosystem by doing 2 of the right shows a month, this is the link to visit. And I hope that you have enjoyed it. I hope that I'm going to be getting to do business with y'all. And would you like me to send a replay? I have yes on the replay. Okay, I will send a replay. And so I say thank you for being here. You know, when I started this call, I said there's so many people that are doing structured webinars and structured calls that feel like really, you know exactly what's going to happen every minute of the call. And I'm just sort of flipping the script and showing up in conversation, in relationship, to demonstrate that creating relationships with human beings in a Zoom room, that's my favorite way to play. And I hope that it becomes your favorite way to play. And when we get to work together, that's how we're going to play together anyway, because how I am in my office on a Wednesday morning or a Thursday morning is the same way I am on stage, wherever I happen to be, whatever I happen to be doing. The more authentic and genuine you can be everywhere you go, I think you're going to find the right people. So have courage to be yourself, be your own wizard, let your freak flag fly. Let's all fly our own brooms together. And thank you for being here. So I'm doing the wave. Thanks all. Thanks all. I'm so glad we could be together. And that's a wrap. Thank you all so much. Bye-bye.